Well, we've been asked to show an example or two of wetland design using gCADPlus. And here's an example from a hoppy farm in Victoria in Australia. And the idea here, this is a sloping site, and from the right-hand side over here, surface water will flow through this zone down here, which is in fact designed as a wildlife corridor, and the planting for it is placed down at the bottom of the sheet, which we'll take a look at in a moment. But the initial water flow will flow into this first pond here, and it will then flow through what is a sort of mini trash rack, a zone filled with pebbles, fairly coarse pebbles, that will serve to track and trap some rubbish. The water then will be cleaned up a little and into a second pond, and finally through another rack with some filtration and into the final pond. Now, the idea behind a constructed wetland is to have as large a shoreline as you possibly can. And if we move over here, I took this image this morning which reminded me of it. Here's a marine angiosperm that's been washed onto the beach, and it was that shoreline, that extensive shoreline, that reminded me that this particular design here might be a good one to illustrate that question. If we swing here to another gCADPlus drawing, here's a constructed wetland, a whole lot of detailed contour information, but the zone through here, you can see it a little better as I zoom out, but I hope you can see that again. There's an island in the centre, a long shoreline, another island in the centre of this pond, and other raised areas over here. So water will then drain into the wetland, which is sensibly placed at the lowest point in the site. If we come back to our original design, what's been done here is, if I zoom in, that wildlife corridor that runs through here, we've got some detail of planting to sit in there, and I would suggest if you wanted to do more on the detailed wetland design, we would probably include an island in here, but this design was done more as a concept one, and so we'd increase the shoreline as much as possible, provide a haven in here maybe for birds to breed, and do some heavy planting around the edge, around the shoreline, and I'd be inclined to detail it in much the same way as we've done here. There's a typical planting through that wildlife corridor. So it's by no means a detailed discussion of wetland design, but you really want water draining through the site to the lowest possibility and then moving through a series of zones where you ultimately, in the final zone, want to use the plants at the edge of the shoreline and other algae to clean up the water that's coming in.